Welcome to the Influence and Inspire podcast, episode 11. I'm delighted to say my guest today is Ronke Lawal, founder of Ariatu PR and Communications Company. Welcome, Ronke.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for the invitation.
It's no problem. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. I'm all the more good for speaking to you, actually. I love the name of your podcast, Influence and Inspire. That's two powerful words.
Powerful words, and I like to get powerful guests on, and I think I've got one today. So
Thank you.
Make sure you represent.
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure. So first of all, Ronke, you were born in East London, Hackney, to be precise, and you graduated from Lancaster University and University of Richmond, Arizona.
Virginia.
Virginia, sorry.
Yes,
Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
First of all, what did you study at Lancaster University?
So I studied international business economics, and that's why I was able to do a year in the States because of the international business element.
All right. So for the international business element, you had to go abroad to do a year.
Yeah, we had a choice. We could either go abroad or we could stay in the UK and extend our degree to 4 years. And one of those 4 years would have been in industry.
Right. Okay.
So, but me being me, I like adventures. I said, "Oh no, I'm going to keep to the 3 years, but I want to travel. I want to live in another country." And so I chose the 3 year. Although I think the 4 years might have been a good idea because to get that 1 year work experience would have been really powerful on my resume, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you chose for the adventure, which is good. It's good. So how did you find Virginia?
Yeah. Oh, well. I mean, anybody. I don't know if anybody, any of your listeners, kind of know about the history of the United States in the sense of the North-South divide. But it was very different. And even if you read about it, it's not until you go that you see that. Yeah, there was, and it still is, unfortunately, as we see, like in the news at the moment. There was still segregation. Now, it wasn't obviously legal segregation, but it was just culturally, black students would sit with the other black students. White students tended to stay with the white students. The internationals, which were all diverse, so we were from Europe, Africa, South America, the Caribbean. We all sat together, and we were the most diverse group. But being in Virginia, it was really interesting because I remember when we first arrived, all the international, we went to one of these museums, and the Confederate flag was still on display. And you're just thinking to yourself, but it wasn't, we never had any direct kind of racist abuse or anything like that. I'm not trying to scare people. It was an amazing, I absolutely loved my year in Richmond, and I would definitely recommend it. I loved my year in the States, full stop, because the States, as much as it has its issues, it is one of those places where you do feel like you could fulfill pretty much anything. Like your dream, that American dream, I will say it, even today, even if you have any struggles or challenges, I feel like America really is the land of dreams. If you go there, you can just pretty much do anything, even though obviously systematically there's a few structural issues. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
So there's so much opportunity over there.
I honestly have to say, people might disagree, and it was a great, opportunity to debate. But I just feel that there is, across all sectors, and we see it. We see it in terms of enterprise. We see it in terms of creativity. You do, and even with, if you look at it, I'm not in the film industry, but if you look at all of the creators and the actors who actors and actresses who end up leaving the UK and going and starting a new life in America, you see how their careers just flourish within a few years. So I feel like it's a land of opportunity. And if you look at all the entrepreneurial stories, majority of them, if we're being 100% honest, seem to come from they seem to. But they're very good at doing PR. I think Americans are very good at the hype and the buzz. So that's possibly why it appearances might be deceptive. So I don't know. I don't want to give them too much credit. The UK is great as well.
The UK is great. You're right. So, Ronke, what made you have the idea of starting up your own public relations and communications company?
So it's been well over a decade. It's been about 12, 13 years. I had been working in a managerial position. So it was personnel, finance management. It was a nice job, very stable. Had my own office, but it wasn't fulfilling my purpose. I felt something wasn't right, and I would always get really stressed and angry and upset. And it's not to say I don't get stressed now, but it was a different level, And as much as the money was good, it just wasn't there was no fulfillment. So I remember a friend started a business and she said, oh, could you help me do some marketing or and like help me to promote and publicize it? And I started working on this project and helping her with her business plan and like the publicity plan, the promotion and marketing plan. And I just came to life. I just thought, oh my God, this is it. I think this is it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of naively, and I always say to my mentees now, I was a little bit naive. I kind of quit my job, even though I had savings, and thankfully I lived at home. So even though home wasn't necessarily a mansion, it was still home. Yeah. So I was able to stay at home. That really saved me a lot of money and just start my business from scratch. I was still living with my parents. So it came out of that longing for something more. But, you know, in hindsight, there are probably other ways I could have done it. Yeah. But it's taught me a lot. And I always say it's almost like a working MBA. Like I've just been on the hustle and on the grind for all these years that, I kind of hopefully know my craft.
Yeah. Sounds like you do. How important was university in shaping your career, would you say?
That's a really good question. You know, I look back and I kind of feel like I wish I had taken advantage of university in the sense of, you know, the networking opportunities. I think university is a great space, especially for somebody who grew up. I grew up in a relatively deprived part of London on a council estate. Yeah. So until I wanted to be quite far away from home because I knew not that I was going to, not that I wanted to escape, but I knew that if I didn't leave London, you know, I'd have just stayed in my bubble, my comfort zone. I wanted to stretch myself. Yeah. So I met, you know, lots of people from completely different, well, they were all, granted, let me just put a little mark on that. They were pretty much, majoritively speaking, you know, white, upper middle class people. But still, that really stretched my boundaries, you know. If you're coming from an environment where you aren't a minority, you know, growing up in Hackney, there was so much diversity. You're not a minority, you know, and you mix with different people. But you also mix with different people who, unless you're from, you know, families that are striving for education, you might get sucked into the narrative, you know, of the streets. I hate to use that. Yes. But so going to university really helped to kind of open my eyes to, whoa, there really is like a different world out there. It sounds silly, but I feel like until you see it, because, you know, our parents were like, study, but they weren't necessarily talking about networking, building those connections. Yeah. And I think I did build them, but I don't think I built them enough. And looking back, I wish I had. I think it's really important when you go to university to network, to take advantage of the societies, and to, you know, even, you know, people might argue degrees aren't necessarily what they used to be. They're not a guarantee of a job. No. But I do feel like you can really learn so much from, you know, the system of, you know, lectures and the system of study, enough to know how to kind of manage yourself and take from it what you will. So I almost feel like I wish I could go back in time, and it's not too late. I might do an MBA, I don't know, but part of me feels like I don't like the debate of kind of diminishing the value of degrees, because I hear it quite a lot now, especially when it comes to enterprise. I think, you know, having a degree it's a good accomplishment. It's a good thing. You don't necessarily need it, but if you can get it, and especially, look, Ryan, let's be honest, if you're coming from backgrounds like mine, you know, I don't have privilege. I don't come from a background of privilege. So I did kind of need it. Yes. You know, I needed that as a you know, degree, because I didn't necessarily have a privilege of, you know, mummy and daddy or auntie and uncle, they're going to give me a job if I don't have a degree, and I didn't necessarily have enough of an entrepreneurial kind of family to set, you know, to look after me if I didn't go to university. So it was important, and it is important for people, particularly unfortunately in this society, who don't come from a background of privilege. I think it helps.
It does. So what are some of the services Ariatu PR provides?
So the majority of the things that clients come to me for are media relations. So that's you know, pitching a client's story to press, and usually the pitch comes in the form of a press release. And we're always approaching journalists, media outlets, media platforms. So that's traditional media, TV, magazines, newspapers, radio, as well as new media outlets like podcasts, blogs, and trying to get them to feature our clients. So it is about, you know, shaping narratives, sharing a client's story to the press. But also there's a lot of other things that we offer. I mean, I offer crisis management. You know, in this day and age, especially social media, it just takes one disgruntled employee or a customer who's upset to start a rant on social media, and then you've got, your brand will just blow up in a negative light. You see that all the time with British Airways, US. What was the big airline? It wasn't US Airlines. It was it was a big major airline where there was a video of a guy being dragged up the flight, and it got a lot of coverage, and that was a major crisis for that company. The name completely, I can't believe it slips my mind because it had so much coverage. But examples like that where you've got, and even L'Oreal, I don't know if you're you've seen the whole L'Oreal dropping one of their brand ambassadors and not supporting her freedom of expression and her right to actually speak up against racism. So the brand impact of that, I help to at least manage, brand impact and advise clients in terms of crisis management. I advise them in terms of media relations. I also advise, don't necessarily manage, but I advise in terms of social media strategy. So, are you using social media wisely? If not, this is what you should do. And also publicity, just a full turnkey publicity. So, if you're speaking at an event, trying to get clients to speak at the right events, shaping their profile basically. And it's been quite good. There's a lot of strategy involved. It is a long game because it's not like advertising where I design an advert and the client pays me just to have the advert designed. This is more about a long-term kind of narrative and getting the public to relate to your brand. So that's why it's public relations.
Yes, exactly. So you got quite a number of clients. I was looking on your website the other day, and you're mainly working with small businesses at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good mixture, but I mainly work with small businesses, and we can define small. It's funny because we can define small business in a number of ways now in economic terms. Yeah. But mainly small businesses who can't necessarily afford to assign a full-time PR department or communications department, so they can only have a contracted or they can only outsource, or clients who maybe they just need a little bit of a boost. So they've already dealt with their own PR before, they've done their own PR before, but maybe they've come to a bit of a brick wall and they need new, fresh eyes. And I've also worked with organisations, slightly larger organisations in terms of consultancy. So it's a range, but generally, yes, you're right. Small business owners and small businesses and small business owners and entrepreneurs. Yeah.
I think I might be using some of your services after this call, but I'll let you know. So you were a non-executive director of a Hoxton Apprentice. Can you tell me a bit about the Hoxton Apprentice?
That was a blast from the past. It's no longer in existence, actually.
Isn't it?
It was a social enterprise restaurant, a really great initiative. Yeah. If you think, if you can recall, Jamie Oliver had this initiative where he trained, young people who, it was a very similar model. Right. Okay. And it was in Hoxton Square, so I was on the board of directors, and it was one of my first like trusteeship roles. So. It was a great experience because I was learning to find my own voice as well. Yeah. And it's a shame because I'm a trustee for a couple of other organisations now, but that in particular, if I had another opportunity to do it again, I'd have loved to do it again because it really spoke to me in terms of, I grew up around the corner from Hoxton. I saw the impacts of gentrification. Yeah. I saw, how sometimes some people, it's just about, the hard knocks of life, and it's not fair to just because somebody might have made a mistake to just write them off. And so a charity like that, it really did help. And they were they trained young people in the restaurant. And it's unfortunate the charity restaurant no longer exists there. But it was a great initiative. But I always encourage people. I know a lot of people, particularly I speak from the Black British community. We really need to kind of get involved in our local charities. Yeah. A lot of us want to maybe start a charity, but I feel like we can also become trustees, advisors, directors for charities. We don't necessarily have to start our own. And we should really be paying attention to the charities that are in our boroughs and in our areas. Yeah, we really should. And even I'm not on a school board yet, but eventually I hope to be on a school board. But even in terms of education, it's really important. I think because we're underrepresented in so many industries, we need to really get plugged into everything. And I think a great start is charity. Like we need to see how, these donations are being spent and used. And do you know what I mean? It's really important. And too many members, I think, of our community kind of either start their own, which is great, but it's tough, because you've got to always hustle for the donations, or they miss the opportunity to become a trustee. And I feel like we should. I really am an advocate of getting more members of the Black community into charities in the UK.
Okay, and you're also working with Voluntary Action Academy as well. Is that one of your charities that you're currently working with?
Yeah, so it's a sub offering of Voluntary Action Islington, which is a major charity in Islington. Yeah. So I'm a trustee for Voluntary Action Islington and a director at Voluntary Action Academy, which is like it's an online learning platform for small charities in the borough of Islington, and actually anybody can use it. But yeah, for Voluntary Action Islington, that's a major charity in that borough which I'm involved with, and I've been a trustee there for about 5 years. It's been really interesting, actually. It's been a good process.
And how did you go about getting involved in that Voluntary Action Academy?
So I saw because I was already a trustee actually of the charity that runs the academy. It made it easy. Yeah, yeah. All
right. There's more on the list of stuff that you do actually. So you're a mentor for the Sherry Blair Foundation and Elevations Network Startups Initiative. So I just wanted to ask, how do you find the time to do all of this, including your mentoring?
Oh gosh, good question. No, but so at the moment I've paused. Well, actually, I was about to say I've paused it. No, I've still got my mentees everywhere.
Yes, exactly. No. That's not pause.
But there's no pause on them. But it's about with mentoring. It's just about managing your time effectively. I'm a big fan of kind of the virtual calling. You don't have to meet for everything. Meetings. If we really think about it, if we're all really kind of logical, meetings take up a lot of time.
Yes.
Traveling to meet, it takes, wherever you are in London or even the world, depends which city you live in the world. It takes time to go to a venue to meet, then you've got to leave to go to another meeting. So meetings, in terms of mentoring meetings, I really nip in the bud. They have to be really selective. And so we talk on the phone or Skype, and they work, or email, and they actually work. And it helps because with the Sherry Blair Foundation, my mentees on that program have always been international. So two mentees were in South Africa. So there's no way I'm going to be able to fly over to South Africa. So we just make time once every month, once every 2 months to have a conversation. And then in between, it's a quick email. If you really need me, maybe WhatsApp. But the time is there. I feel like it doesn't take up too much time because I'm not necessarily with them all the time, but it's there. And if it's something that's important to you, I think you always find the time. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I do. I don't know how, but I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, since we're touching on time, what kind of time management tools do you use, and how do you manage your day?
Hey, Ryan, this one. That's a good question because I ask myself that all the time. But a really good technique is to write down what you need to get done during the course of the day or even during the course of the week, and then what's important, what's urgent, and what needs to be done but isn't either urgent or important, if that makes sense. So if it's urgent, you got to deal with it. If it's an urgent client email or, a journalist wants to meet with a client, I've got to deal with that. But if it's important, something like, I don't know, drafting a press release or drafting a strategy or a communications plan, that can be done as long as I've got a deadline. So it's literally just writing a list and deciding on that list, okay, what's urgent, what's important, what can wait. And also just, what really helps is taking a break. I think sometimes we get so obsessed with being busy that we don't see the value of just pausing holistically, taking a moment to breathe. Because I've noticed if I don't take a break and I'm just letting the work come, I don't necessarily get more done. Actually, it stretches things out, and sometimes I'll procrastinate because I feel like the pressure is on. So I feel like as human beings, we need to make sure we take regular breaks, take care of ourselves. And just manage our time through the tools and just basic, very simple tools, writing things down, using our calendar. I love my calendar. And even if you've got a diary, a paper diary, I like sometimes pen and paper helps. So writing things down really does help. So just those things and using all those tools, technological tools effectively can really help with time management.
Okay, good. You've also got a food blog.
God, yeah. I don't even know how I remember that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Called Who's for Dinner? So is this when you're just having a bit of fun doing something that you enjoy?
Oh, you've just hit the nail on the head, Ryan. Like, and I love that you got it, because most people are like, oh, how do you manage it? It's like, for me, because I have to eat to survive. I don't know about anybody else. We all have to eat to survive. And because I do genuinely love food, and I've never really had any hang-ups, thank goodness, in terms of, food, or my relationship with food is pretty healthy. I love food. So I just thought one day I was like, okay, I need a hobby that's going to, take me a little bit away from business, and not always be thinking constantly about my clients. And so I just thought, well, the thing I like to do, and I do it pretty much every day, is just food. And so, once in a while, I'll just write a little post. Or what's happened now, and I think because I'm good at copywriting, so the blog is relatively well written. I'm not one of those bloggers who are like up there, who've got amazing followers or whatever, but it's nicely written, and I get invited to things, and I get sent things to sample, but it's really easy going. Like, I don't stress it, and the beauty of it is, like, if I don't blog for a couple of weeks, that's fine, because it's not a business. Whereas if, for example, I was advising somebody who was starting a blog as a business, it's people who have got blogs as businesses, I would definitely say, look, you've got to sit down and have a strategy and But because it's a hobby and it's a lifestyle blog, then no, I just take it easy, and stress-free, and it's just a nice way to keep track of all the lovely food I've ever eaten, and also to keep track of all the restaurants that I've ever eaten at, and I can just go back and say, oh, I like that restaurant. One day I can check my blog and I'll be like, okay, that's where it was.
And the pictures of the food are quite enticing, I must admit.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's the thing. And it's a wonder that I'm just not constantly eating, because I'm always literally always thinking about my next meal. I can literally be cooking a meal and I'm thinking about, okay, what's for lunch or what's for dinner.
All right, Ronke, so what's next for you, or what's next for Ariatu PR? What are your future plans?
Good question. I like that question. For now, I think, I just want to. I'm good at what I do. I think I'm great at what I do. I don't want to big up myself too much, because I feel like it's important to be humble. Yeah. Not necessarily modest, because that's why I'm good, but humble. I'm always learning. I'm not perfect, but I don't think in this life you need to be perfect. But more clients, bigger clients, international clients. I love more international clients. Genuinely, like, if I could just get a few even bigger clients internationally, and they don't have to be. When I say bigger, I just mean kind of maybe long-term projects where I'm really, really attached to the project on an international scale. I think that would be really exciting. That's the goal at the moment. And also, I've got to start to focus on how can I use my gift to teach others. Yeah. So, having an opportunity to speak on a podcast like yours is a great way for me to share my skills, share my knowledge. So I've got to keep, spotting opportunities like this, or welcoming, I should say, opportunities like speaking on podcasts like yours, using my YouTube channel to kind of speak about how to publicize yourself, market yourself. That's for me is how can I take it up a notch, and I don't know honestly how I can move up from the YouTube channel to more, because with YouTube people love they love lifestyle, they love makeup, they love relationships. Now business, I'm talking about business, it's still I can see it's still a bit of a long, it's going to be a long game, but I see something of value in the YouTube channel. So I'll see how I can change that in, like, what I can do in the future with the video content. But yeah, just bigger, better, keep going, keep perfecting my craft. And one day, we just get one of those, those clients that changes everything. Those PR clients where it's an international PR campaign and it's, takes me around the world.
Yes, it makes that big difference. Changes everything. Yes, I know what you mean. And just before you go, could you just tell me one person that inspires you and why?
Oh my goodness, one. This is tough.
I know, just the one.
I'm sure people are going to say her name all the time, but I don't care because I love her. It's Oprah Winfrey, and because look, say what you will about people might argue that. I don't know what you can say negatively about Oprah. No. Oprah is amazing. But I just feel like she has done so well and utilized her gifts so well. And she has used the opportunities that have been afforded to her fully and authentically. And what I love about Oprah, and and all the people who are like Oprah, there's a lot of other people who are out there, it's only because I only had to choose one, is that once she's used her gifts and she's got that platform, she's opened up the door to so many others. She is an ambassador for, giving.
Yeah.
And just allowing your gifts to open up doors for so many others. And that's what I want. I want to be able to, as I grow, I don't want to just grow for the sake of growing by myself. I want the business to be great, but I want it to be great and also bless other people at the same time. So as I'm getting bigger and as I get bigger clients, I want to be able to bring other people with me. I want to be able to allow other people to share in my joy and my abundance. And that's what, it's not about her wealth. It's not about, her popularity or her fame. Yeah. It's about the fact that she's used those gifts so authentically. And that's just, for me, that's almost the definition of being a success. Like once you get to that point where you're able, do it. Like open the door. Because she does. She just gives so much. And if you see how she changes so many people's lives through action, not just talk. I mean, so for me, she's the epitome, and she's a teacher to me. She's a teacher to me, a mentor who I've not met yet, but one day, Ryan, remember I told you? Yes. And I'm going to do a selfie and say, Ryan, remember I told you?
Yes, definitely. I will remember. So what's the best way of getting in contact with you and also getting your services as well?
Sure. So I'm across most social media platforms, but Ronke Lawal on Twitter, Ariatu PR on Twitter and Instagram as well. I'm on Instagram, ronkelawal.com, so RONKELAWAL.com, and Ariatu PR, ARIATU PR.com. And there you'll find all my links. And on YouTube as well, my YouTube channel is Ronke Lawal Means Business. And I'm there. I'm very, I'm active, but I'm smart with it. Thankfully, I'm using all of those, the resources that allows you to manage your social media effectively. So I don't want people thinking I'm literally a robot. But yeah, I'm all over the place. But I'm there with a purpose. There's a purpose behind it.
Yes. Well, I'll definitely post up the links to all your social media.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing our conversation with me today. It's been wonderful speaking to you.
Oh, it has been. Thank you.
And yes, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Okay. Thank you.